Stugotz, as we build out the stuff that we're trying to build out over the next few years on YouTube and beyond, I should tell people as we are live on Mondays and Tuesdays that the hope is at some point that we can be doing this every day for you. What are you pointing at, Mike Ryan?
Patrick Beverley is now running cameras on Get Up.
Yep.
He's not leaving.
Never.
I mean, he's got a career job.
You got to show your value, man. I can do it all.
Yep.
He's going to make entertaining television with them. You guys were asking whether you think Stephen A. likes that because Patrick Beverley is coming for the throne or taking the ESPN had to burp out a whole lot of content yesterday. Had to burp out, around Patrick Beverley with no games yesterday.
And they did it well.
And they did it exceptionally well, and Patrick Beverley did it for them. He went on television, and he was maximum Patrick Beverley, and never before have 11 points a game or whatever it is. He's never shot more than 43%, never scored more than 12 points as an average in a game.
So what? He's entertaining.
But he's doing the camera work, and he's doing the same thing that got him from Ukraine and where else was Greece that he was playing that got him to the NBA, gets him now on television. He hustled his way into a job. He is sitting across from J.J. Redick, another breakout star on First Take.
Now, he's there. Stephen A. is not. Stephen A. is not on the First Take desk right now, but Patrick Beverley, he's replaced him.
He's very relaxed. He's very comfortable on television. So, Mad Dog Stugotz, what are you pointing at and laughing?
Whoa, Stephen A. is there.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, he's coming with sunglasses and a white jacket.
He's here.
He's here in Miami.
Oh, my God.
Guess who has the Eastern Conference rights?
What's he eating?
Breakfast blonde.
He loves Miami, man.
Is that a fake background behind him? That's a fake background behind him. That's not real.
Well, that's a real background.
Wow,
That's Brickell Key. Wow. That's some Mandarin. I got married there.
He's eating some papaya.
Huh.
He's wearing a white jacket. And so you're asking me whether he's enjoying what First Take was yesterday? Stugotz, I think he's eating fresh fruit from a bowl, and he's happy. He's wearing a white jacket purposefully because he's in Miami. He actively makes picks all the time, hoping that Miami will win so that he could come to Miami, so he has an excuse to come to Miami.
You think he's going to the Panther game or the Heat game?
I think he's intimidated by Patrick Beverley. Eating fruit the next day is kind of like, I'm so comfortable that I'm going to try to go over the top of showing how comfortable I am.
Right.
That means he's actually a little nervous by Patrick Beverley.
Correct. Yep. Mm-hmm.
I see it.
I'm with you.
So you can watch us watch First Take. I think that's a whole new show we should start doing. Just us doing Mystery Science Theater on First Take. But one of the things I wanted to get to here, because I was stunned that it made an appearance during the break. We were talking, and Cody, the two Chris's shocked me during the break. I learned, and I don't know which one is more shocking, Stugotz, you tell me.
Okay.
That Cody walked into a soccer practice of soccer draft of 4, 5, and 6-year-olds and tried to cheat and had a board and was very prepared for the drafting.
Cheating is a stretch.
5, 6-year-olds.
I think he just tried to be prepared. I don't think he was cheating.
Well, he had a whiteboard though. Okay.
All right, what happened was I got a packet of 89 kids, all 5 and 6-year-olds, some 4,
right?
a couple 4-year-olds, but mostly 5 and 6.
A packet.
Yes, you're a soccer coach.
I'm
them know that on the front end.
You're not just walking around with a bunch of kids' names on a sheet. Yeah.
Careful, care about.
Right, we had a draft.
You're picking a team,
league,
correct?
yes,
right.
I'm super excited
For soccer.
For soccer.
There we go. That's the part we need
soccer.
to
It's
Right.
honestly one of the things I've been looking
You know what,
forward
Cody, I need you to
words, say
stop
the word
talking for a
soccer.
second. And Billy, can you put the disclaimer
Okay,
here
hold on a second.
just so that everyone knows? Because again, we're hoping to be live all the time, and there are perils in that, especially when Cody is barreling through things without context.
Cody is a youth soccer coach, possibly for his daughter's team, depending on the outcome of the draft.
Yep.
Yesterday was the league draft, and there were, I believe he said, 89 kids available that they had to choose from for the different teams. So yesterday, Cody, as a coach, had to go select his team.
So you had a packet where their bios,
It was literally just their name, whether they're a boy or girl, because since they're so young, it's co-ed.
Right.
Their age, exactly, like it was like 5.6, 5.9, and then this is where I got a lot of my info. Their shirt and pant size. Small, medium, large. Like,
Well, this is why I think you were cheating.
Well, no, it's not cheating. Look,
I think
all
it's
right,
cheating.
So
I think
I had
that's
never
cheating.
done this before.
Or it's smart.
I had never done this before. I didn't know if every coach in there was going to be like ready to go. So I made a list of like the 6-year-olds, the ones who wear the mediums and the larges. I just like, how else could I do it with this list?
You want a big team.
I was just
you were
like,
looking to have a
my
big
daughter's
team.
maybe
You're-
a little small, so I want to balance.
At that age, Dan, the biggest team usually wins.
Right.
I mean,
And so I walk in with a separate. I had the packet, and then I had a separate sheet that I had listed probably 20 or 30 kids that were just. I was eyeing them. I was eyeing these kids.
Based on size?
For soccer.
again, he's a soccer coach drafting a
Again,
team.
Chris, we need some context here. We're
context has
live
been
on
given.
YouTube.
I've never
Easy,
seen
Chris.
the word
Children.
Easy,
You
Chris.
need, you need to just
I had to
keep-
go through a background check to do this. Does that make you guys feel better about this?
No, none of this. Your judgment is very poor.
What? I don't know what's happening right now. I don't know what
That's
to say.
okay.
I'm
You're
just
okay,
doing a
yes,
draft.
just keep pushing
Keep
forward.
Go.
yeah.
We got you. Don't
I
worry about
love-
it.
It's something I've been looking forward to more than anything as a parent is coaching my daughter in a sport. I'm so excited about it. So I over-prepared, and I went in there, and nobody else had a list. I was the only person who prepared a list.
You have a
Everyone was
whiteboard, but this is not the this. I want to pair this against something because I also learned during the break that Chris Whittingham enjoys a mosh pit, which we all found shocking.
No way.
We all of us were talking about a mosh pit and being on the periphery of a mosh pit because you don't want to really get in there. And Whittingham's like, nope. I went in chest first and shoulder first, and I was looking for contact because there was someone who brought contact my way, and then it was a duel. Now I imagine that him going into a mosh pit with a fencing glove, but no.
Wait, are we talking about the same? Like, is there
The
a
same Chris Whittingham?
no? Is there like a fruit or vegetable called a mosh with a pit that he
I
likes?
imagine him pulling a kerchief out of one of his shirt pockets
Get away from me.
and slapping someone across the face with it. I did not have you for a mosh pit. So which one's more surprising, though? When I tell you both of those things are so. Chris Cody walking into a drafting of 5-year-olds and trying to cheat with a whiteboard, or Chris Whittingham enjoying a mosh pit?
Whittingham by far. I mean, I think that would be unanimous to our listeners, to everyone involved with the show, right?
It took some coaxing because mosh pits are intimidating, especially to the uninitiated. But generally, mosh pits are awfully considerate given the mass of bodies. There's always that one guy.
Right.
There's always the one that's been circled the calendar, decides to release all that bottled up angst
Not in the pit to be nice.
and start
Yeah.
swinging back fists around.
Yeah.
And it's just, dude, I'm trying to have fun. I just want to mix it up a little shoulder to shoulder. If I fall, you pick me up, all that kind of stuff. And there's that one person that just moves the entire pit. I mean, at this show, there was that one guy, so we tried to keep
He's
our
always
distance.
so bony.
So bony.
Right,
It's all
it's just like
elbows and-
like the shoulder has like it
Sharp.
hits you.
Yeah.
it's like it
Knives.
stabs.
Malnourished.
Yeah, it stabs
Because-
you.
Sharp, yeah.
all that person's
like
had
Al
for
Horford.
dinner over the last 11 years has been Slurpees and Doritos. It's just beef jerky and Slurpee.
Beef jerky describes what he eats and what he is.
Yeah.
He's just
It's just been that's a 3-course meal. It's all beef jerky and Slurpee. It's just 3 courses. But they always put out a bad vibe, and usually the group kind of calms them down over the course of the show. But I was very surprised that Witty mixed it up, and he got in there, threw some shoulders, used his size. You like to see it.
You seem to know a lot about the guy in the mosh pit who likes to do that.
Yeah,
I mean,
because
yeah.
I've been in several mosh pits. I
Right.
like rock music, and
It's
I
you.
don't want it. No, it's not me. It's not me.
Put it on the
I've gotten
poll.
jacked up in mosh pits
Really?
before. Yeah.
sounds unpleasant. Put it on the poll, Guillermo, at LeBatard Show. Do you enjoy a mosh pit? I don't think most people will say that they enjoy a mosh pit, especially when you got old scissor elbows guy
Yeah.
dominating the mosh.
The best mosh pit I've ever been to. And I've been at like some random ones, but Deftones, I'm a huge Deftones fan, and they randomly played a Lollapalooza. It's not typically something that they do. And they were covering Katy Perry's Firework.
Wow.
And you could tell all the
It's a great
bros
song.
that brought their wives, their high school sweethearts over to see Deftones because this is a band of their youth. And it's a bit of an older crowd, but also they still kind of rock. And people go there to like throw shit and get crazy. And so you could tell everybody that's a legacy Deftones fan because they were swatting bottles out of the air trying to protect their women, all while a cover of Katy Perry's Firework was going off.
I kind of maybe could follow Roy along the path earlier where he said in the earlier hours that he didn't know some of these like rock bands from like the late 90s, early 2000s. He's claiming that he doesn't know Katy Perry's Firework, which is impossible
Lies.
with a daughter, Madagascar. It's impossible that you don't know
The problem
Firework.
with what's happening with you is every damn time that we need something, hey, who was the co-producer on that episode 6 of Different Strokes in 1983? You produced the name all of a sudden, so it doesn't stand to reason. Like a part of your brain works to keep a great deal of minutia. Every time we have a question, you're faster than the computers on some silly pop culture nonsense that doesn't matter. And here, pop culture is seeping into your ears in songs that anyone would recognize, and somehow you don't know what anybody's talking about.
Music is not my forte, Dan, unfortunately, and I apologize.
That's
Although
right. You tell him, Roy. Hockey is.
I do know one Deftones song, and it's in the system. They did a Sade
But
cover,
how many
so.
Katy Perry?
0.
I'm
I
sorry.
don't believe
She
But
performed
Firework.
at the Super Bowl.
That means what to me?
You watch the Super
Watch
Bowl.
the Super Bowl. It's the Super Bowl. What is a Super Bowl?
You're
I-
going
I-
through the
It means
stats.
it's a
What do you-
Super Bowl.
I mean, I don't pay
It
attention
means-
to halftime
It
show.
means it's
That
a
is
watch.
I did pay attention to this year's halftime
Do
show.
you
That's
pay
it.
attention? Well, hold on a second.
What
Do you
does
pay
the
attention?
Super Bowl mean to me? Are you mad?
Do you watch
G-Funk,
the
man.
commercials during the Super Bowl?
I do, yes.
and remembers every single one of them.
No,
That's
I'm,
right.
I'm sorry. He doesn't watch the Super Bowl.
That Zach Braff Donald Faison commercial for T-Mobile.
Oh, you're
That's
just
right.
trying to get on
Daddy
their
remembers.
podcast.
No,
And that was a
remembers,
musical
right.
one, too.
Yeah.
Katy Perry's in commercial. You know who Katy Perry is.
This is an
at
expert
least.
troll by
I do,
you.
yes.
You got me good. I know I'm on to you. You're just fucking with me.
I mark that. I am not. I'm not.
It seems like you. It seems impossible that you would just at this part of your brain.
I have a
know.
4th
I
of
don't
July
know.
playlist. You want it?
Sure. Yeah, give me that playlist. Oh,
I thought it said up.
Shoot across the sky.
so that's the song she's screaming in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Coming back to you?
Yes, it's starting to come back.
Okay, good.
That was the mosh pit. I aired though because Billy was cackling in the face of Chris Cody about some of this soccer draft stuff.
Well,
And
how did it go? You didn't tell us how the draft went.
I don't know how could I know after? I had a list of 9 kids' names. I've never seen them play before.
Okay, so you went in with a list and you had a strategy based on shirt size, I think you said, right?
I mean, what else could I judge?
what
Do
were
you
the
have the
other coach-
tallest team?
Yeah,
mean-
I did take there was one Matthew. I don't know what to say. I'm not gonna say names.
Yeah, no, definitely no.
why
At
would
least
you
you didn't
say
start to
his
say
name?
most of it.
Yeah,
Maddie.
jeez.
This is why live
Matty
is
Ice, yeah.
dangerous.
Maddie.
All of a
right.
sudden, Matty Ice is getting dragged. A 6-year-old is getting dragged.
Who Chris thinks like a 6'6" but he may not be.
Wait, so
No.
tell us about Maddie. He was tall?
He's tall.
Okay.
He wears a large shirt. I was
Well,
like, I want
that
that
doesn't
kid.
mean tall necessarily. Ever seen the Big Green? I mean,
I do need a goalie.
Chris,
did you pick older kids too? Because you had their age. Did you go
Yeah.
for like
I-
high
I
fives
have-
or whatever?
I have one 4-year-old, which is my daughter, one 6-year-old, and all 5-year-olds.
You took your daughter first, I'm assuming.
I knew that I could take her, so might have taken her 6th round. Nobody else can take. It's actually a
Out of
smart
how
shot.
many?
9.
With the final pick.
Out of it's nobody else. Who's gonna draft my daughter? As soon as they say her name, I could say that's my daughter.
she's Mrs. Irrelevant.
They don't even have celebrities make those picks anymore in the draft.
I'm sorry, Whittingham. I'm sorry.
He gave it to me. I threw it back to him
You
because I
guys
can't
were-
pronounce that.
I didn't.
I mean-
Okay, so you were scared of Miss Irrelevant?
Yes.
It was Mrs. He was scared of.
Woman.
What?
Chris, you got a big team. You drafted a big team. You ransacked the laundry of children.
I mean, yeah, I did.
He got Maddie. I mean,
He got a large team.
Yeah.
We don't know.
No. See, I didn't
How?
go all large. I wanted balance. I went boys, girls.
The bulk of your
small,
roster is
medium,
5-year-olds.
large. The bulk
How-
is 5-year-olds.
How
Yeah.
does this play out? Just out of curiosity, did it go through your mind? How does this play out if you get home and you tell your wife, "Hey, I'm back from the draft. Bad news. I didn't pick our daughter because she wasn't around anymore."
But that would have never happened because I'm her dad. Like I would have been. That's my daughter. She's on my
Right.
team. Like I went through a loop. Like everybody picked their kids first, and I just did the whole. It was my
You
first
knew
time.
you were getting your
I
daughter.
had,
right.
in my back pocket, I had. This is my first time. I didn't. Oh, I forgot. Like I had that.
wow.
I had that
Right.
in my back pocket. So I needed to get Maddie.
What if Chris
It's a
is-
great thing to have in your back pocket.
What if you're
I
like
mean,
this secret genius that this whole time just like when something's like, "Oh, I didn't know," like I forgot. I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah, Chris is new at this." You know what I mean?
You get it.
But you need a keeper.
I do need a keeper.
Okay.
Sixth round. Put it on the poll at
She's never played
LeBatard.
before. I've never seen her play. She's
Totally fair. Right.
And she's a small.
She's got to show you something.
Yeah.
She is wearing a small too.
Yeah, so I mean, come
You
on.
can't burn a first-round pick on your daughter there when she's a 4-year-old and
That's
you've
what I'm
never seen her
saying.
play.
She's on a prove-it contract.
10-day contract for sure.
Guillermo, put it on the poll. Is it right to have a 4-year-old on a 10-day prove-it contract?
It might be a cup of coffee.
she's
Your own 4-year-old, by the way.
She's going to complain about her minutes, and it's going to say it's politics that you're playing the 6-year-old
she's-
Matty Ice because you drafted him higher.
First game, my daughter on the bench. Stugotz, you know this move. My daughter can't
You
start
got to
first game.
overcompensate. Yes.
Yep.
You
I
have
don't want people to be
Yeah.
like, oh, he's playing his daughter. First game, she starts on the bench. Sorry, kid.
I think there are dangers in general of coaching your daughter when she's the worst one on the team and you
Well,
drafted her
let's
last.
not go crazy. She's actually
Sneaky good, right.
Yeah.
And you know
Little
it,
Stevie,
right.
what's the kid's name? Who's the bad kid that you got?
Oh, I don't know how good any of them are. I'm telling you, I know
Just
my
got-
daughter is going to be decent.
You were
though.
just rummaging through
No, it's
laundry. I mean, I want you guys to.
I love that.
I want you guys to imagine. Okay, Chris Cody trying to get an advantage in a salary cap sport. And he's like, you know what? How can I outsmart my opponents? I'm going to go into this area here and be an adult person who's rummaging around in the laundry of children to measure their sizes, to see if I can get a secret advantage because I want to have a big team that pounds you, that clubs you.
There was also all the coaches were talking about this one kid. They're like, this kid, really good, 6-year-old, played for a couple seasons, but the parents.
Oh, yeah.
I took them. I'll
Good.
deal with it.
No, you deal with the
I'll
parents.
deal with it.
Character issues, huh?
I'll handle the parents.
And now you have to set the expectations. Hey, I'm the coach. You're the parents. You cheer. I coach.
That's right.
Leave me alone.
I hope
Say it on
there's-
the front end.
Yeah.
Or tell them you'll bench the kid.
I hope there's
All
a
right.
couple 6-year-olds on your team because if not, now the parents know that they're a problem.
Well, he's my 6-year-old.
Okay.
They don't know. People don't know what I do.
They're not watching now. You're not giving away company secrets. There's not an opposing coach who's trying to get an advantage over you, who's watching, waiting for you to let down your guard and
Commiserating, yeah.
You just- the praise is pouring in, Stugotz, for yesterday's show at LeBatardShow. On that Too Many Men segment, WTF is this shit? I'm out. No one cares.
Is that guy?
Thank you for giving it a chance, sir. Thank you for trying to support as long as you could that the women who do the Too Many Men podcast and will be doing it 4 days a week for the LeBatard and Friends Network. If you care about hockey, Stugotz, and you care about saying something more than just, best time of year, if you actually want it covered well, the Too Many Men segment, it's not a segment, it's a podcast, and you should check that out because I did a disservice to them yesterday in not launching with more public enthusiasm because hockey is not my thing, and I did not know who they were, but I enjoyed listening to them talk, and I enjoyed them agreeing with your assertion that the men don't know what they're talking about. You just threw out there that men cover hockey poorly, and I'm like, they do? Why?
And they all agree with me.
They
Yeah.
did all agree with you, so check that out. But I make a living talking about sports, but the game's 3 hours start. Too late for me to stay awake.
Is that guy?
8:45 tonight.
Oh,
Eastern Conference Finals.
if we're lucky, 8:45.
Why do they list 8:30 and start the game at 8:45? Who is this for?
It's 8:48. Really.
Commercials to trick you in.
No,
to get you.
I got the notice. It's 8:45. The
They
game
ju-
tips
it's
up
just
at
to get you to
8:45.
watch those
I know,
18
but
minutes,
that's such
isn't it?
Bullshit. Like the biggest sporting the biggest sporting events in the world.
This is just back to soccer.
No,
for
it
you.
is because the Champions League final starts at 3 p.m. and you know when the ball is kicked at 3 p.m. 0-0-0-0. There is not a second later than when they advertise the kickoff of that game.
The problem is it starts 0-0 and ends 0-0. I mean,
But isn't the whole thing?
you.
Isn't the whole thing?
Sorry, Witty.
You're not sorry.
I'm not.
It's the only.
He's just so
it's
adorable.
The only way
I mean-
you want to discuss soccer ever is to make 0-0
Someone
jokes.
scored a goal.
You're
I mean,
like-
they went all the way to Mexico. No one scored.
You don't have a third note. Give me the third note on your soccer takes. It is soccer is dead
Shep Messing.
or 0-0.
And Shep Messing. I mean, that's it. The arrows. I mean, how about that? Indoor soccer, man. That's the last time everyone started telling me soccer is back. You remember that? The Cosmos, the arrows, Shep Messing, Giorgio Canaglia. Oh, it was a good time. Franz Beckenhammer.
Beckenbauer. That's
Whatever. He was a keeper, right?
defender.
Should have been a keeper. Great reflexes. Keepers play defense, don't they? I mean, kind of. It's like a fourth defender, right?
Depending on the system, fourth or fifth.
Thank you. See, I know
What
my
size
soccer.
shirt did he wear?
XL.
Someone else writes in relation to what it is that I said about Tom Brady, because people really do think I am hating on Tom Brady because he hasn't gotten it in front of a microphone. He's not someone who says things. Like, I don't even mean it as, it's just matter of fact. It's purposeful. Like, he's been in disguise. I'm not saying he's not interesting. He probably is, from what I've seen him, with his social media teams and with the artists who are working to craft what will be his image the rest of the way. I've actually seen interesting things. And if he's willing to show us those that would be cool, because he's very well crafted and manicured.
He's starting to say some stuff. Like, Dan, when he left New England, he went on the Howard Stern show. His social media is excellent. Like, I find some charm in that. I find some humor in that.
He has figured out how to brand manage. Like, of course, he would be at the forefront of all the pioneering Stugotz. Like, once he learns the LeBron lessons of, wait a minute, I can own all this shit. I don't have to share any of this. Wait a minute. It's not the Patriots. It's not anybody else. It's this whole football system is salary capped. I mean, wait a minute. I don't need any of these people. I'm the greatest winner ever. I'm not going to be caged by this thing. My wife's a supermodel who makes more money than me. I'm going to be a power couple that dominates Hollywood, that dominates everything, media, all of it. So I don't mean to say anything but the matter of fact when I say that he makes a lot of money for doing something we haven't seen proof that he can do. But here comes another angry comment. Dan, there are a million guys who say what you say, my cousins included. I look forward to hearing what Tom Brady has to say. The money means nothing. Entertainers just get paid outrageous sums. Just hoping for some true insight from you. Time will tell. You might actually be correct.
He's that guy.
That's not going to be fun waiting for you to be right.
That's
Exactly.
not the way that's.
You're wrong now.
This is not the way to do this. You might be correct is the next advent of First Take, I think. You might be correct is not the way to do this, sir. Stugotz, I wanted to ask you this as somebody, you're a big golf fan, and furthermore, you have been very publicly somebody who has been pro Phil Mickelson, and it was a cool moment, a highlight in golf probably over the last 10 years, when he becomes the oldest winner of the PGA Championship, right, of a major, the oldest winner ever at the age of 50, came out of nowhere a bit, right, because and brought back the old lefty.
No one was expecting what Phil Mickelson did just a year ago at the PGA. So no one was expecting it, and I am a fan of Phil Mickelson. I do like Phil Mickelson.
But the thing that I wanted to ask you, because that was a year ago.
Yeah.
And if he hasn't been canceled, he's on his way to something that feels like cancellation, and he really did great harm to him, his brand, and his legacy with the casualness and the coldness that he described the idea of teaming up to make more money. Even though, Stugotz, I would be on the side of him when he's talking about creating something outside of the PGA Tour that allows Mickelson to realize the same thing Brady did. Wait a minute. I'm my own economy. I don't need some of these things. The straps, the machine that makes the money off of me, I don't need it. I can team up with 7 me's and I can start my own golf league and I can challenge the machine, the institution, the way it's been done.
What he's objecting to with the PGA Tour is they own part of his social media, the NFT stuff, the digital stuff, all stuff that he thinks he should have a greater ownership in. Now, people probably agree with that on tour. They'd like to have more control of that stuff. But really what this has turned into, besides the bad comments that he made, Phil, is that Phil has gambling debts, and this particular new golf league, Dan, they offered Jack Nicklaus $100 million to be an ambassador.
Stugotz, it's dirty money, okay? It's dirty money. I don't need to normalize hacking to death a journalist with a bone saw. Like, it's blood money. And Mickelson, it's one thing to take it. It's another thing to make the arguments that are cold, that are like, yeah, bone saw, whatever, but where's my money? And now you got a gambling problem on top of that. And some of this stuff gets problematic, man, because, like, I really love talking to Greg Norman. I'm so tired of not being able to talk to some of these hugely interesting people that I want to talk to because Ric Flair has some awful allegations in his past that, you know, of how he treated a wife, or, you know, Greg Norman, I can't talk to him anymore because he's out here talking that bullshit of, well, people make mistakes. Fuck out of here, man. Come on. People make mistakes on a bone saw killing with a journalist because you want to take their money. Like, you could have done it quietly. You said the quiet part out loud. Like, what do you mean? People make mistakes. Bone saw. You're bone sawing a journalist to death isn't a mistake. So it's blood money. And it's in your sports. And these guys could have done it quietly, but they couldn't even do that. They couldn't even do that. They have to go into the waters of like, no, I need to defend the blood money I'm going to take. And now one of them's got a gambling problem. And it's a gambling problem that's, you know, I mean, $40 million in 4 years, Stugotz. Like, I don't even understand how that happened.
It's insane. And it's a bad look for Norman, and it's a bad look for Mickelson. I don't know if we should applaud them for at least saying, hey, we'll take the money, because there's a lot of PGA Tour players, Ricky Fowler included, that are interested in joining that professional golf league. But the PGA has made a stance here, and they're like, listen, you want to go. Get the hell out of here. Leave us alone. You're not playing in the majors, though.
Stugotz, this is a legend. This is a golfing icon at 50, tripping over the finish line. He got his sweet moment.
This was supposed to be a big weekend for Phil.
Stugotz, he's avoiding it. He's hiding. And I don't blame him. He doesn't want the questions about the gambling.
Agreed.
Like, he is hiding. He is not there to defend what was a signature moment in his career because of what is his gambling debt. And now, this is one book on the gambling. The next one, Billy Walters, the gambler? Like, there's another book Armin Katayan is working on that is supposed to have worse stuff on Phil Mickelson. And you go in 1 year, look how fast that can happen. It's a handful of words, and it's just not being discreet. It's like you now have coming into your life disgrace. There's not going to be rebounding from this. He's losing sponsors. Sponsors are falling out. He's
losing fans too, Dan. I'm a big Phil Mickelson fan. I love to watch Phil Mickelson play golf. He's a great golfer, one of the greatest golfers that we've ever seen. But to suggest or say that I'm not disappointed, wasn't surprised. No, I'm upset with Phil Mickelson. And Phil Mickelson won't be, I love the majors. And Phil, it appears, will no longer, he wasn't at Augusta. He's not going to be there to defend the PGA. Now he's 51, so he's toward the end of his career. But I would have liked to seen Phil play out his career. He's not going to do that. And yeah, of course I'm upset with him, because it's a ridiculous thing to say and a ridiculous thing to do when the perception is, hey, you've got all the money in the world and you can go earn more on the PGA Tour.
He could have done it, is the thing, though, Stugotz. He just didn't have to.
He was too loud.
You didn't have to defend it.
Right.
Like, there's so much compromised money there and so many businesses that, yeah, it would have been okay. Somebody would have done the same. Not everyone is doing the moral decisions on song lyrics that they sang 20 years ago that they're now cleaning up, because every decision now is a moral conundrum. But I do feel like it sucks to not just be able to call Greg Norman and talk to him honestly about any of this shit, because you can't talk honestly about anything. Because look at what Patrick Beverley does when it's honest. Like, it's not honesty what you're getting. So much of the crap you're consuming from these sports idols and heroes, it's just stuff that is protecting brand management.
But it's what you're being honest about, Dan. It's what you're being honest about. Beverly is being honest about benign things. Chris Paul, he's a cone. He's a bad defender. Everyone knows it. This is real life stuff that people actually care about. It was dumb, both by Greg Norman and Phil Mickelson.
But Dan, this is the point of the money. The money that these states throw into, quote, public investment funds is to wash their reputation using sports. Getting athletes to even muddy the waters is good enough, because if Greg Norman says, oh, they made mistakes, or tries to poke holes in the argument against the murdering of Jamal Khashoggi, all you have to do is muddy the waters to allow Saudi Arabia to eventually at some point be a part of mainstream, quote, mainstream sports. You pay these entities a lot of money to wash the reputation of Saudi Arabia. I also think it's worth noting that the PGA still welcome Phil Mickelson. He hasn't been canceled. As far as they say, he's the defending champion. He's currently eligible to be a PGA Life member, and we would have welcomed him to participate in this weekend's PGA Championship. He didn't want to do it.
He asked for a release for a certain tournament, as did other guys, by the way, in the PGA, and they said this a year ago. They said no. They said if you want to go there, go play there. And if you want to play here, but you ain't playing both. And eventually what they'll do, the guys who end up going to that league, they will not allow them to play in the majors. And that's what's most important to many of these golfers.
Can you forgive me, though? Can you just, as you know, people are being slaughtered in America, whether it's race-related or in churches, as people over the weekend are slaughtered in America. And in Buffalo, you just get just awful, awful, heartbreaking, sick to your stomach video and audio and stories of black people being hunted. And this country, just not lacking a certain humanity when it comes to the equality of all humans. How do you get to a point, Stugotz, where Greg Norman and Phil Mickelson from the country club world of golf are so comfortable with the need to make money so they can buy more and more golf courses and have more and more opulence and spill $40 million over the bar in gambling debt in a 4-year period, that they would be okay with laundering money on the phrase bone sawing a journalist to death? No, man. Come on. Come on, Phil Mickelson and Greg Norman. Look at where you're coming from. And you're taking the dirty money. If you want to take the dirty money, take the dirty money. But
You're surprised by greed and golfers being Dan, hold on a second, and being insensitive to what's going on in the world from the PGA Tour?
But while taking the money, Stugotz, and defending it publicly. And then when it comes to the questions of when you're going to defend your title, you got to go into hiding on all of it, because you can't handle any of it, because you were so sloppy and reckless with everything in your finances and whatever it is that made you addicted to gambling, Stugotz. And I will say this, I'll put this on the poll, Guillermo, at LeBatardShow. Who do you think is more prone to gambling addiction? Average human being, or people who are hugely competitive as part of their identity?
Dan, I think they're two different stories, Norman and Phil. Norman is being paid to run the league, right? And he's being paid a lot of money. They offered Jack $100 million. He said no, and now Norman's taking it.
They're trying to go into partnership to launder and sanitize this blood money.
When I see Phil Mickelson and hear his comments, I hear a man that is desperate and in a very, very bad spot. I do. Just so desperate that he'd be willing to take that money because he has $40 million in gambling debts. That's what I hear. It's insensitive. It's terrible. I'm upset with him. I'm not nearly the fan of his that I once was. And we'll see what happens here with Phil, but I think they're coming at it from two different standpoints. I'm not justifying either one of them.
Just the part that I find the lack of grace appalling, okay, Stugotz, in skipping over the mistakes with that craven agreed that you won't even do me the courtesy of concealing it better. You won't even do. You're trying to argue.
Well,
on
Mickelson
behalf
claims that he was.
Well, mistakes are mistakes, or
right.
People make mistakes. I mean, come on, man. It's such a bare minimum ask. I'm asking on grace and decency to just don't bullshit us so thoroughly that you also want me to believe that it wasn't a journalist being bonesawed to death for believing in something different than what the Saudis believed.
What do you make of WWE, a publicly traded company? Because we don't hold them to the standard that we
At
hold the
all.
Shark
At all.
to, because they've signed a multi-year agreement with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
And the dirtier the sport, I mean, and MMA has as well, right? Like the dirtier the sport, that like I won't have it normalized, like Stugotz. Just that it's not okay. It's not okay to just.
But who's saying it's okay?
Stugotz, Mickelson, and Greg Norman are saying it's
Well,
okay.
Phil said what he said, and then he went away, and we haven't heard from Phil since, and we'll see if we hear from him again. What Norman said is patently absurd. I agree. What they both said is patently absurd.
I don't understand how they haven't taken pages out of WWE's book when they're ever pressed. No one holds them to the high standard. They're on investor calls, and it's just, well, this is how you make a difference. Incremental gains. We didn't have any women on the first card. Now women are regularly featured on the card, even though they have to dress appropriately. This is how we help change a culture. You have to respect them, but this is how you make progress in these places. It's not what you're really hearing Greg Norman on an island just like, I like money. What? Everyone's entitled to their way of life.
And it hurts, Mike, because I love that dude. The stories that guy has told on our show, he lives bigger and better than all of us. He lives life grander. He lives life.
You have to say it, though.
Grinder. Life.
The accent is so great. I want to love him. He's got so much money. He's got islands and golf courses and helicopters and planes and yachts and Outback.
And a great nickname.
And body.
Mm-hmm.
And dong. As captured by Instagram in a way that we jocularly interviewed him and talked about his dong. He was so embarrassed. It was just there.
If you're just trying to be a big-time entity in business, we mentioned Fortune 500 companies. You can't be a Fortune 500 company without doing business in some countries that don't align with your morality, or at least your country's supposed morality. When you're counting on Greg Norman and Lefty to do your public bidding when they are not perfect and they don't have the big PR machine that publicly traded companies do, they're going to put their foot in their mouth a lot. And part of me does appreciate the honesty in that this is just a cash grab. Maybe you can separate things. I think it's a bridge too far for so many in art. For the vast majority.
But it's grabbing cash from the wrong people.
Okay,
Mike.
but
I feel, but that's where the big time cash payday, there is a premium price on swallowing your morality. That is why we have a Thanksgiving World Cup this year. There is a premium put on these countries to get in the game to sports wash. We saw what Vladimir Putin did with sports washing over a World Cup and an Olympics. I kind of feel like we're repeating the same cycle, and we're making far more concessions for it. But this is how big-time capitalism is working on the international stage. But at least FIFA can say, hey, we were located in Switzerland.
Right. But when I say they're grabbing money from the wrong people, they have both acknowledged they are grabbing money from the wrong people, and they're still grabbing the money from the wrong people.
But
I think that's Dan's overall, and everyone's overall problem.
No, it's not. It's so much more than that.
It hasn't just been the acknowledgement, though. Greg Norman's been making excuses.
He has.
And defenses and doing the washing, Stugotz, doing the washing, doing the laundering. One manicured toenail at a time, bringing what? I'm just an Aussie. I'm from sports. What's the big deal? But it's not just the greed in it, Stugotz. It's not the commerce in it. It's not. Look, of course, Stugotz. Please look up Greg Norman's wealth. Please look up the amount of the riches that golf has brought him and continues to bring him because of how much he owns. The idea that at the end, Greg Norman, at the end of their careers, what Greg Norman and what would appear to be someone with a gambling problem, Phil Mickelson, were doing in commerce and greed, which is 12 of us or 15 of us or 20 of us are worth so much that we could conquer the thing that has fed us for a long time. And the way we're going to slay it is with a bone saw.
Norman's net worth is $400 million.
Many golf courses, owns a ton of golf giant courses. Manicured land. We can make the argument that it's the worst use of public space in the universe.
Whoa.
We could. It's inefficient use of public space.
You've been hanging around with Billy too much.
What's the matter with you?
Do you think that's wrong? Do you think that's
I know
Well,
it's
Billy would
wrong.
argue it's
Yeah.
just stadiums. So
But golf courses, it seems. I mean, stadiums are so much smaller than golf courses.
There are no public parks near me, and there is a giant golf course stuck in the middle of Aventura where, like, there is literally nowhere to run. There's people elbow to elbow on the sidewalks around this golf course running on a Saturday morning, and there's nowhere else to run.
I mean, if it was up to Billy, it'd just be a field full of complaint booths, right?
we are short-staffed here today.
Shaft.
No Greg Cody of the Miami Herald.
There's still 8 people here. I mean,
No Ron McGill. Jessica's on vacation. Tony's on vacation.
and there's still 8.
And there's still 8 people here because there are several people piled on top of each other in one of the corners of a very small space that is a little too close to that semen-soaked mattress in the alley, because we are still a little rugged underdog outfit that is led by a ragtag group of misfits that are so very strange. And I believe the strongest thing, Stugotz was marveling at this during the break, because I believe the single most valuable thing that exists as a character trait in our entire environment is just how eager Chris Whittingham is all the time to simply help. So much so that he volunteered to be Chris Cody's assistant coach on a 4 and 5 and 6-year-old soccer boys team, which seems like a terrible waste of a time commitment.
He offered it with a smile, and he'd be prepared.
I just don't think there's anyone else I've ever met who would make that offer to Chris Cody. A truly terrible job, Chris Cody's assistant coach on 4 and 5 and 6-year-old soccer.
Job.
And he means it. Being Chris's assistant would be fun. He means it. He'll make your team better. He'll probably get to the game before you do. I mean, this guy.
I've heard from the other parents that getting 4, 5, and 6-year-olds to create a cohesive formation, not easy. So
No.
I might need the help, honestly.
Kids soccer games it's a rugby scrum. It's just there's 18 kids gathered around a ball trying to punt it one way. There's like one kid off to the side who's eating grass. And
Him
there's
calling-
one kid who's looking at butterflies.
Him
and
calling
that's
the
it.
game might be funny. Will you come out and call the game?
It's gonna be, that would be great. I would love for you guys to now be the buddy cop team that assistant coaches and just takes us on a journey, a sports journey of Chris Whittingham.
Make it a Merrick Reed.
Assistant coach doing the color and play-by-play on 4 and 5 and 6-year-old soccer.
You'd wear a suit, right?
Of course, got to be prepared.
You make them call you gaffer.
I want Whittingham to be around me at all times. I do. He is so helpful and so nice. And I've started to question, I was telling my wife this, if my parents raised me correctly. Mom, I love you. God rest your soul. Okay, rest in peace. But I am serious. The bar should be Chris Whittingham, because he is the most helpful, delightful person I have ever met in my entire life. And I just want to hire him to be around me. And I aspire to be him. And I think every parent should want their kids to turn out
You don't aspire
like
to
Christopher
be him.
Whittingham.
You don't try to be like him at all. You don't aspire to that. You don't try in any way to help others.
You're right. But if I had life to do over again, Dan, if I could write a letter to my younger self, I would say try to be more like Chris Whittingham.
The Wieners
Your younger self would use that letter as rolling papers.
A lot less drugs.
You are 100% correct.
snort stuff with it.
What?
Your younger self.
Yeah.
Dude, think about all the drugs you'll miss out on, though.
Paul O'Neill.
I had fun. I mean, still very much having fun. I still aspire to be Whittingham. I use drugs. Legal, man. Most states.
Witty is really delightful unless you're at a restaurant and they can't get the TVs set up right. Then he turns into a monster that will yell at you.
Or a mosh pit, evidently.
Well, he has no control.
Or a mosh pit.
He's lost control.
He really wants to help you right up until he wants to bury his shoulder somewhere in your skull because you're a bony scissor feet.
I've never heard someone emerge from a mosh pit and said, I quite enjoyed that.
I did, though.
As he tightened his waistcoat.
The best.
Stugotz, as you see everyone in sports realize it's sort of the same time, whether it's Brady or Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving now, right? He's on I Am Athlete. He's making the rounds and telling his story. Durant and Kyrie Irving are their own media centers.
They are.
They could do whatever they want wherever they want, and the eyes will follow them because they are stars.
People are interested in those two guys for whatever reason. Whatever your reasons are, people are definitely interested in those two individually and together.
Okay, so as you see what's happening in basketball, the star-making vehicles, Stugotz, and as you see the young people, Luka and John Morant, vying now for the positioning of Tyler Hero. I want the stories told about me in young pop culture. I want to be the one in the rap lyrics. I want to make my owner be able to make fun of Lil Wayne on the sidelines because I've got one of those young guys on my side. As the league gets taken over, in one corner you have Luka Doncic laughing after baskets. And that's the laugh of arrogance, but it's also the laugh of joy. And in all of these things that we talk about, sports and narratives and games and storytelling, Kevin Durant seems sour. Whatever it is at the end here. He's fighting people. He did an interview here with David Letterman recently in which, among other things, he just says, yeah, I'm high right now. Which is a new kind. We're doing it differently now. Kevin Durant is letting go of everything. Judge him. He's smoking and telling you he's high during an interview with David Letterman. Brooding at the end of his battles with LeBron, 10 years of battles with LeBron that made him do some stuff with his career because he had to keep up with LeBron, do some stuff with his career that I don't know if he regrets it or what, whether he gets jealous watching Golden State, but whatever it is that Kevin Durant does on the basketball court, it doesn't seem joyful. It doesn't seem happy.
Well, the guy's not getting the credit he thinks he deserves as being one of the all-time great players. He's not getting it. He's not getting it from the media, most of the media, and I imagine he's not getting it within the people that he cares about the most or his peers. And I imagine he hears things that we don't hear.
No. His peers.
Dan?
No, Stugotz. His
You don't
peers.
know what Patrick Beverly is saying behind closed doors?
Stugotz. Kevin Durant's peers. Look, there'll be arguments anywhere. Look, these guys argue. Matt Barnes and Patrick Beverly, I believe athletes speak more honestly amongst each other with more direct communication than most of us about just sort of not sugarcoating things. I don't think people in basketball would dare disrespect the eternal gifts of Kevin Durant. As people who love basketball, they will tell you how great of a basketball player he is.
That's undeniable, Dan. I think what people mock is the fact that Golden State was good before he got there, and Golden State is again good after he has left there. And people question, why'd you go to Golden State? Dan, I've heard guys say it in the league.
But Stugotz, I think we all know he's good enough to win championships, whether you give them into your personal record book or not. Okay,
right.
And that's fine. You could just want to see it, but what the thing that I'm trying to point out to you is that you tell me what Luka's laughter means. Because he's on the court, he knows he's good. It's arrogant. It's earned. And he laughs in your face.
Yeah.
When he scores.
Because he knows he's better than you.
But it looks like joy. It looks like I could sell that in commercials. I could, if my league is brooding, and unhappy, if it's Kyrie Irving managing his own brand, Kevin Durant and my Nets are going to dominate the news cycle. Kevin Durant and LeBron are going to give it up reluctantly, the end of whatever stardom is. LeBron's still tweeting from his vacation. Anyone got any questions? From his vacation, the play misses it already. Because the young people, the young people want the things that the king has. And what I wanted to discuss with you guys is Durant, the idea of Durant doing an interview with Letterman. The idea of Durant
it's kind of cool, right?
Doing an interview high with Letterman.
Oh, I don't care about that. I mean, Letterman could have been high for all we know. His marijuana use, like, that doesn't bother me whatsoever. I think what Kevin Durant is going through, or let me do it this way. I think what you're seeing from Luka is, hey, I'm out here with Bullock. I'm out here with nobody. and I've gotten my team to the Western Conference Finals. And I'm telling you, Dan, that feels better than joining a super team and doing it with them.
But Stugotz, forgive me.
He's doing it by himself.
Stugotz, I'm not a prude. I'm not a moralist about the marijuana either. The broader context that I was trying to talk to you about is this league was built on the backs of David Stern saying, Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, I'm going to make them stars. And stars will have individual power, and that individual power will make them be sometimes bigger than our sport because we will give them the commercials, and it'll be much different than football, which is athletes are disposable. That league had to be cleaned up from, that's a drug-addled league filled with black dudes smoking dope. And of course, it sounds prude looking back at it in the 70s. But what I'm saying to you is that Kevin Durant's doing an interview high with David Letterman. You and me shrug our shoulders and are like, yeah, that's normalized now. What's the big deal? But you've got an icon whose league is being taken over now by other guys. Like Kevin Durant and LeBron are going to have to give this up. And the re-imaging of the league is going to have to work around that because he's a brooding superstar who doesn't seem like he's very happy.
We do have sound courtesy of Netflix of this interaction between Letterman and Kevin Durant.
It's not the last one, right? Because I think Letterman was setting this up during the playoffs. You and I were made sad by Letterman showing up at a Nets practice, talking to Kevin Durant, and it seemed like Durant didn't know who Letterman was, and Letterman's jokes sort of landed really like old guy who's out of place and not funny.
Now I just assume it's pretty clear that Kevin Durant was doing a thing. Yeah. And trying to deadpan him for this Netflix show. So we all got there. Here is Kevin Durant talking to David Letterman about marijuana.
When did you begin as a kid? As a kid smoking weed?
Nah, I mean, if you want to call 22 a kid.
22, so an adult. And explain what it does that people might misunderstand about it.
To me, it clears the distractions out your brain a little bit. Settles you down. It's like having a glass of wine.
Yeah. So did you smoke today?
Yeah.
And you're just fine?
I'm actually high right now.
My experience with it was when I lived in California and I was much younger, and everybody was doing it. It was in the late 70s, early 80s, and it just, I found myself motionless. I can remember going to a Yankees-Angels game, and my girlfriend and I smoked a joint before the game, and I just sat there like this, and I kept thinking, wow, that guy's standing on a mound of dirt. Whoa. It's actually a mound of dirt.
It's interesting to you. That means you're really a curious person.
Yeah, I have no idea who won the game.
But you remember that moment.
Was I smoking the wrong kind of weed?
No, you were smoking the right kind if you were thinking about stuff like that.
I like KD.
No, you don't.
I mean, he still never won a title, but I like him in 4 rings, perhaps. I don't know. Marinate on it a little bit later when I'm high.
Just because he made you laugh? because you...
The honesty, I like it.
Okay, but it's easier to be honest now than it's ever been. It's more popular than it is, but this has been hidden in the shadows for a long time, dumbly in that league for a long time as part of its image-conscious building of brand. And while it may be something, Stugotz, that most in the audience shrug their shoulders on, there are plenty of people are like... The next question I want to ask is, do you play high?
Right. There's going to be people who ask the question, hey, how seriously are you taking your career when you're high all the time? Right? But it's been normalized, and it's legal in many, many states. And if he feels better when he's high, I'm not going to...
but it's not my point isn't to judge it, though, Stugotz. My point
but
is
other
to
people
say...
will.
My
Yes.
point is to say, as basketball heads into the new age, it needs stars to carry the story. It needs these young people to rise to these games, not to be about officiating. It's Jason Tatum to write the story now, Luka, so that we can tell. So we can tell people. Wait a minute. Do you realize that there was a scorer in the postseason who did it just like Michael did? It was happening as everyone was screaming, blame Joel Embiid, blame this guy, blame this guy. A dude comes from out of nowhere, another country, comes out and at 23 years old, gets into shape during the season, decides that he's going to get into shape on America's dime, enjoys his celebrity, and when you ask him after Game 7, did you know that you had as many points as the Suns had in the first half? He thinks about it for a second. He says, yes, of course I knew. Of course I knew I had as many points at the half in a game 7 as the Suns did. Like, it's going to be really cool to see some of these moments grow where these guys become bigger stars than they already are.
I have big news for you. There is a professional hitter of baseballs on the Zoom right now.
Where did he come from? Has he been there waiting, listening to all this yammering for a while? I did not even see him. This is very exciting. Is Paul O'Neill coming to us from this strange studio in Ohio where he is separated from his Yankee colleagues who are broadcasting the games back in New York? I've been told that Paul joins them by Zoom. Is that where you're joining us from, Paul?
I am. I've learned a lot here in the first 5 minutes waiting to get on here. And I see that you have all the problems all figured out.
I do. Thank you for joining us.
He thinks he does.
Swinging a hit, 9 innings of what baseball taught me is available May 24th. You please tell me, though, what you think I got wrong there.
I don't want to go into the long list. We only got so many minutes here. But you know what? Sports are sports, and that's what's great about them. We can talk about them. We can argue about them. But at the end of the day, it's who wins or who loses.
He's right. Sports are sports, Dan. I mean, professional hitter.
But I'd be perfectly fine. I mean, we could talk about your book, but I'd also be perfectly fine if you enumerated all the things I got wrong for as long as you'd like to talk about it.
He said not enough time.
But I'm saying I do have enough time. I will talk to him for the rest.
But he doesn't.
I will talk for the rest of time if he wants to correct anything it is that I got wrong.
Onward.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good move. We don't have to stay there, Dan.
Yeah.
Can you tell us how awkward it is, Paul, to do the broadcasts remotely?
No, it's fine. I mean, this is what the past couple of years have done. You know, the way we do it has worked, and the Yankee fans seem to enjoy the way the Yankees are playing. And you know, that's the most important thing. It's not how you do the broadcast. It's you know, what you can put into it, what you can come across to the people, and enjoying what the Yankees are doing right now as a team.
Do you enjoy broadcasting?
I do, much more now than right when I started. Believe it or not, I mean, I retired in 2001, which is amazing to me to know that it has been that long. And the farther you get away from the game, I think you enjoy more watching, you know, how good some of the players are. And it's not like the first couple of years where you're looking out there and you're very critical because you know you could still be out there. And you know, reality sets in 4 or 5 years after you retire that, you know, those days are over. You can't play this game anymore. So you kind of sit back and enjoy some of the younger players that are the stars of the game today.
Stugotz, you mentioned that he's a professional hitter. When he won the batting title in 1994 with hitting 359,
yes.
Do you imagine that person is mortified by what baseball has morphed into, is disgusted by nobody out here can hit 359? That'll never happen again. Everyone out there is Joey Gallo now.
I think Paul O'Neill probably dislikes where the game has arrived with the strikeouts, with the shifts, with the home runs, with pitchers not going 9 innings. Paul, I would guess that you're not a fan of where the game. You love the game, but you're not a fan of where the game has arrived because you care about the game so much.
Well, you know, the game has changed. I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat it. It is a different game. And will it change back primarily? I think, you know, possibly with the shifts going out of the game next year. I do miss the adjustments of hitters. You know, whether home runs on your mind, pitch one, by the time you get to 2 strikes, adjustments are fun to watch. And I think that's kind of the art of the game of baseball. You do get away from that a little bit. Strikeouts are a huge part of the game now, which they used to be an embarrassment. Now they're not. But you know what? Don't get me wrong. When I'm sitting here watching Aaron Judge and Stanton hit these prodigious home runs, I mean, these are things that people haven't seen in the game of baseball. So, you know, the game, there's ebbs and flows. It changes in one sense and then it goes back. And Don Mattingly said to me this year at the beginning, you know, it has to change because it always does. And with the shifts going out of the game next year, I think you'll see guys using the field more. You know, still in my mind, there's great players in the game of baseball, and that does not change. It's just the way and what they're expected to do at the plate now.
Paul, big fan of your game. Congratulations on all your success, Yankee legend, but also Reds legend. And
Yep.
I'm wondering, which Reds loss was more difficult to celebrate a massive achievement in? Most recently, the Cincinnati Reds threw a no-hitter, but they lost, which is just bonkers and an incredible achievement. But also in 1991, you, Hal Morris, Mario Duncan went back-to-back-to-back off of Mark Portugal in a loss. You accounted for all 3 home runs.
What a team. What a bunch of names.
That's why I did it. I'm working in Hal Morris however
He's
I can
going to
get
give
it.
us all the details. Take us through
Put us in the dugout.
Do you have an encyclopedic memory of these moments, these games?
Well, I do, because, we had won in 1990. And then all of a sudden, when you do win as a team and most of the team is back, you expect to do it again, or at least, compete for it. And 91 was not a good year. A lot of injuries, a lot of things happened. But, you can't take away the championship of 1990. We ended up beating the Oakland A's. It was kind of an upset in a lot of people's minds. But, we knew we had a great team. And in my mind, you look at certain teams that kind of changed the way baseball is playing. That was really the first time I saw baseball going to the 5 innings starter, and then we'll get to the bullpen, because we had that bullpen of the Nasty Boys, which was Rob Dibble, Norm Charlton, and Randy Myers. I mean, to tell you, that was a short game, and it showed up in the playoffs and ended up winning us a world championship.
Was Dibble crazy?
Oh, he had to be your craziest. He had to be.
Was he crazy? He's still crazy. Rob's a good friend of mine. I still talk to him a lot to this day. And a lot of people don't realize, for a year and a half, Rob Dibble was as good as a pitcher as anybody has ever seen in the major leagues. I saw him take the mound in Wrigley Field one night, 9 pitches. 3 strikeouts, and it wasn't the bottom of the order. It was Andre Dawson and Ryan Sandberg. I mean, he was absolutely unhittable. Before 100 miles an hour was achievable, Rob Dibble was right there.
Now everybody's dibbled, but back then, yes, he was throwing 1,000,000 miles an hour. And weren't you in the clubhouse when him and Piniella went at it? That was a big boy fight.
Well, actually, I was in the shower, and when Chris Sabo came running in, I grabbed a towel just to come out and see, what was going on. But that those are the things that happen throughout the course of the year. But
no, they don't.
A lot of times,
don't.
A lot of times you don't expect to see your manager and one of your relievers going at it in the locker. There wasn't a lot of room in that.
I love the idea. You're in the shower and you sprint out because you know you can't miss it. Yes, and Sabo. What'd you see?
Did you run out with? Did you get flip flops, or did you run right out because you had somebody told you?
I had my flip flops on, and I did run out. And the funny story was, Tim Belcher, who actually broke up the fight, had lost a Rolex, and he's the next day he's worried about. We finally did find it in the back of the locker, but stories, and that's kind of what this book brings out. There's so many stories in the game of baseball over the history of baseball, and it just brought back a lot of memories.
I imagine Sabo showered with goggles on. Am I right?
I tell you what, he made goggles a cool thing. Where years ago, if you had to wear goggles on the field, kids would laugh at you. But Spuds was he was good, and he brought that look. He drove his Escort to the game with one mirror had fallen off. So that was his persona, and he was not going to change for anybody.
That was a famous play while you were playing in Cincinnati of you kicking a base hit back into the infield and preventing a run from scoring. What was going through your head at that time?
What a great team.
It's funny to me because, my daughter really, they don't remember me playing. My daughter's my youngest, and it's on the bloopers show every year. So that's what she thinks of me as a baseball player. And, if I break down that play, we're going through a real tough time. We're in Philadelphia. Lenny Dykstra is at the plate. Steve Jeltz is on second base. It's a do or die situation. I either make the play or he scores. It's a wet night. I bobbled the ball 2 or 3 times. I think the game is over, and I end up kicking it. And fortunately, the ball went straight. I was an ex-field goal kicker in high school, so that must have helped. The old George Blanda square toe. And the ball went straight to Todd Benzinger as a cut off the run. Did not
such great names. Such great names.
Ended up being a weird play and a lifelong blooper.
Every name he says makes us all swoon. Like
just keep saying teammates.
This must happen. This must
just
happen.
name your team.
Paul, this must happen to you all over New York. There are a bunch of men at an oak table in a steakhouse, and Paul O'Neill has walked by, and what he's got in his pocket is a bunch of stories about these magical names, and the room falls into your gaze. It happens all over New York. When's the last time you bought a drink for yourself in New York?
Well, you know what? New York people do not forget championships. And that's the great thing about being part of a team, that put championships together. I look back at my Reds days. It was the best thing that happened to me as far as growing up in Ohio, playing pretty much for my hometown team, and then being traded to the Yankees at the absolute perfect time where you start to turn things around. And then all of a sudden, Derek Jeter and Mariano, Andy Pettit, all these people, Jorge Posada, start to show up. And it just basically became the perfect team.
When I think of Paul O'Neill hitting, I think of that little kick he would do, a little flip of the ankle before he hit. Is the most I never saw another player do that. What made you do that?
You know what? I had issues in Cincinnati with kind of lunging at the baseball, and being 6'4", you have a tendency to kind of tip and lunge towards the pitcher. And it was just a way that I started watching other major league hitters. And Juan Gonzalez comes to mind, who had the big leg kick, Ruben Sierra. And I thought, this might work. And I took it into that thought into spring training. And you really, when you're making that drastic of a change, you really have to be diligent at sticking with it. And Rick Down, who was my hitting coach at the time, we worked for hours. I stood on one foot in the hotel rooms, between games, just to find that balance. And then once you get that balance and you learn how to hit with it, you really go back and wonder why I ever did it without it, because it was just a way to keep my weight back a little bit.
The name of the book is Swinging a Hit, 9 Innings of What Baseball Taught Me. He did it with Jack Curry. Jack Curry, an exceptional journalist in New York for a long time, has done a really great job covering the Yankees. And I imagine that Paul O'Neill probably doesn't trust a whole lot of writers with the entirety of his story. So what is the backstory between you and Jack doing this together?
Well, David Cohn and Jack had done a book a few years ago on pitching, and we had kind of on the burner that we would do one on hitting, and then COVID hit, so we kind of pushed it off. But you're right, 100%. When they said, will you do this book, I was kind of skeptical, but then they said Jack Curry's going to do it. I've known Jack and worked with Jack for a lot of years, and it just it made sense. We were going to talk about baseball and stories. Obviously, I wasn't here to tell locker room stories or tell bad stuff about people. I just had too many good memories in baseball. And the more that Jack and I talked, the more stories that come up. It's really amazing in your mind how you can forget things from yesterday, but the things that happened 20, 30 years ago in the game of baseball never seem to leave you.
Do I have this wrong? Because you reputationally, I remember you as sort of maximum professional guy. Just maximum
professional hitter.
Yes, professional hitter. Right. We're going to get to a top 5 list of. We have to do this with Paul O'Neill. We're going to just come. He's going to have to give us
Paul O'Neill's top 5 professional hitters of all time.
We did with Jamal Crawford.
Yes.
We did top 5 bucket getters. Paul O'Neill, I think, is in a lot of lists of just professional hitter, professional hitter, but also just professional, just person who does. When he says, "I'm not going to tell any locker room stories," or "I'm not going to write a kiss and tell book," he's part of these Yankees. They were very guarded. You didn't hear. Jeter. Super famous, but you didn't hear a lot of the stories, didn't hear any locker room stuff. What do you regard as your greatest public controversy? Because you're not you manage the tabloids without any issues.
That I learned early that in New York, obviously the media can either be for you or against you. And coming from Cincinnati, where you would have 2 or 3 reporters after a game, to New York, where you could have 100. You learned that, if you were honest and you basically told the truth, hey, you know what? I should have made that play. I could have won the game. If you were honest with them, they gave you a fair shake. And that was the easiest thing for me. It was much easier for me to talk after a game, and explain why I didn't come through or that, then talk after a game where you hit a game-winning home run, because then that kind of sets the wheels off mentally for me. It made me uncomfortable. But winning in New York is something special, and we had so many guys that were a part of that team, so many names that everybody still remember as that team. That the press was. Were good to us. I mean, why not? I mean, we were winning world championships. We didn't have a lot of. It wasn't like the old days of the Yankees where there were fist fights and stuff. And I've had other teams actually come to me at times and say, as much as we hated you coming into the city and beating up on us with your teams, we actually liked your team. And that's a compliment, because they appreciated the way we played. We didn't show anybody up, but we had a good team. We had the perfect manager. We had the perfect bench coach down the line, pitching coach and Mel Stoudemire. It just, everything seemed to fall in place during that little time.
Are you ready to play this game with us? Have we filibustered enough where we can get the top 5 professional hitters from the voice and the mouth of one of the top 5 professional hitters?
Well, you know what? That's going to be a tough one, because there have been unbelievable hitters. Now, if I go to when I was a little kid, I mean, Pete Rose is the first one that comes to my mind. I mean, he led the world in hitting. I mean, as far as hits wise. So
Charlie Hustle.
I have to throw him in there. There's no doubt about it.
So is that number 5 or number 1?
Well, that's the top of the list. Right. I mean, we're not going to.
You know what? Yeah, that's. I was so. Like I said, I grew up in Ohio, so that was the guy that I watched. But then, as I go on, I mean, if I go from old to now, and now you go to Mike Trout, I mean, the things that he does on a baseball field, they're phenomenal. And it's like every list that you get on has Mike Trout on it, if you're a player today.
Can I do this with you, Paul, though? Because I think, and I'm not one to say, Stugotz, we started this with him telling me correctly, this guy thinks he knows it all. I don't want to make Paul O'Neill's list for him, but he has just chosen 2 of the best hitters that we have ever seen. And I'm not saying that Paul O'Neill is not one of the best hitters that we've ever seen,
right?
But it seems like they're almost a little too good to merely be just professional hitters. And I mean it as no slight to say you're a 5-time All-Star. So it's just... Those are the best. I am explaining it to him.
Lenny Harris is a professional hitter.
Or Al Oliver. Al
Lenny
Oliver.
Yes. You know that? And I played with Lenny for many years.
Professional hitter. Yeah.
Again, another guy that let's kind of go back and forth, and we'll go back again. When I was traded to the Yankees, the first time we played the Kansas City Royals, I could not wait to see George Brett swing the bat. There was just something about George Brett.
Too good.
Paul,
damn
it,
something about his swing, something about his personality, something about George Brett that he stood out. And I remember him hitting me a line drive over my head. And I was just like, wow, I guess I was watching him swing the bat too much because I didn't quite get to the ball. But George Brett, definitely on my list.
Okay, it's his list. He's not going to budge. I'm not going to be able to budge him up.
Brett is too good.
No,
he won an MVP.
I say he's too good too, but Paul O'Neill's doing the list the way he wants to do the
Frank
list.
White would be a professional
how
hitter.
Am I going to Frank White, Rusty Staub? But I'm not going to tell.
Rusty.
I'm not going to tell Paul O'Neill what a professional
hitter.
He's the professional hitter.
Right.
I'm not going to tell him anything. He's got swinging a hit. It's 9 innings of what baseball taught me. It's got the stories. It's available May 24th. Maybe not the juicy stories that you want, but Jack Curry is a good journalist, a good interviewer, and an exceptional writer, and I'm sure he will tell Paul O'Neill's story with great care, because Paul O'Neill would not have it any other way. He would bust a bat over the back of his neck if the story was not told with great care.
Rusty Greer was a professional hitter.
Boom.
Rusty Greer. Now, he didn't make my list, but I do remember Rusty Greer. There you go.
Wally Joyner also.
Yep.
Wally Joyner I had an opportunity to play with down in Winter League. Good swing, but again, I don't know that he would make my top 5 list. Let's go to another kind of today
high standards
and back. I have more respect, and I think changed the game also was Miguel Cabrera. I mean, he was the guy to me.
He's like all-time greats. Give me some Carney Lansford. I mean,
you know what? You take Cabrera and what he did. All of a sudden, he was a power hitter, but then he was a power hitter that could also hit 330 or 340. And to me, when you put that combination together, that's the type of hitter that anybody would want, because he was just something that, going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer by easily.
Paul, I mean no disrespect. I'm telling people to buy your book, Swing and a Hit, 9 innings of what baseball taught me. It is available May 24th. But your list was too good. It was too good. Everybody on it was way too good a hitter.
We need some Ray Knight, some Carney Lansford.
Eisenreich, some Cangelosi.
It's just it's infuriating.
The Kanji man.
It's infuriating that you will not play this game the way we want to play the game, and you're just giving us the greatest hitters anybody's ever seen.
I'm going to throw one out there just because I loved his swing.
Okay.
And he was a great hitter, but I think I'm going to pull this one out. I don't think that everybody's heard of it. But you go back to the Giants, and when I would go in there, the most fearful hitter in their lineup, other than Will Clark, was Kevin Mitchell. And I'm telling you what, for a little time there,
that's a good one. And Will Clark's a good one too.
Dave was a hitter.
Yeah, Will the Thrill.
Yes.
You would have won me over with Aurelia, though.
Yes.
Now you're getting the game.
Yes,
I mean, look at you.
Paul, thank you. Thank you for being on with us. How did you get that up in your house? Is that a towel? Is that a curtain? Did they mail that in? The Yes Network? What is that? What's the fabric behind you?
This has been up for a couple of years, and my wife, who is my technician, she hangs it proudly. So please don't say anything bad about it or decorate it.
I want it.
Is it curtain or bed sheets? It just looks substantive. It looks thick. It looks a good audio quality. It looks like I'm just curious what the fabric is.
Well, it is cloth. See, we can move it.
Wow.
That's beautiful.
Cloth.
The rare fabric.
Journalism.
Weird.
Journalism. I did hard-hitting journalism.
Trying to sew something out of it, Dan? Like, what are we doing
What are
here?
you doing there?
Paul, thank you for being on with us. I was trying to end it more awkwardly than I began it. Thank you, sir.
Congrats.
Kevin Mitchell,
You guys
well
have a great
done.
day. I'll
You
talk
too.
to
Thank you,
Yeah.
Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
Mr. O'Neill.
Thank you,
We
Paul.
could all had a laugh on John Jaha, but he had to ask about the fabric.
I know we could have, but he didn't seem. He was a very reluctant player of the Kevin Mitchell game. We finally got Kevin Mitchell, and I feel like we got a big victory there at the end. And I thought we should stop pressing our luck. I would have liked to spend the rest of the time, not of what we're doing today, of the remainder of time.
Let me ask you a genuine question. Do you have a right foot that you like to get off on? Because it's just, every time. Like, you came at him swinging. Like, well, here's the unvaxxed Paul O'Neill, everybody. He's been at his home for 2 years. It's embarrassing. Paul, tell me about it.
Tell me what I said wrong.
Yeah. What do you mean I got it wrong?
Debate me.
About Luca? Huh?
Probably won't get the salacious stories in this book, but still, check it out.
It won't be the stories you want. I haven't read it, but I'm an asshole.
Do you have a right foot? I mean,
that is exactly right.
Give me your top 5. I'll disagree with everything.
I mean, he
But
was
you were
right.
right
Dan
there.
was right
Dan
about
was
that.
right there.
I did it to Crawford.
was right.
Dan
I
was
did
right
it
on the
here.
other
He
one,
needed
too.
to.
I was right on the other
wasn't
one,
playing
too.
it right.
Yeah, you were right on all of them.
I was you
were right on all of them. But
Yeah.
you taught me better than anybody in this industry how to butter up a guest, and something happened.
Yeah.
I think it was a Trump presidency where you're like, nah, no time for that.
No, please, Paul O'Neill, tell me what I got wrong.
No buttered on this roll. We're just going straight in. Raw doggy.
And how about the fabric question?
That was
good. I can't let you have that one. The fabric one was weird. What's that behind you? You got a curtain? Is that what type of fabric here? Got polyester? We got
Cotton blend?
brother. He had to bring his wife into it. He's just say, be nice.
It was a leading question, Your Honor, because I really wanted him to have to say at some point, beach towel.
No, what you wanted was him to say, it's a beach towel because I remain unvaccinated, Dan. There you go. Full circle.
We're on to you.
Been there for 2 years.
Wait. You said we're on to you. Was it well concealed?
No.
I'm hiding in plain sight.
Real sleuths around
I
here.
think you guys figured it out, did you? Because I thought my breadcrumbs were subtle. You think you guys uncovered some mystery? mystery there. Wait, why is Dan being this way to Paul O'Neill? Yeah, because you're unvaxxed and you're how many states away from people who are working at Yankee Baseball doing the broadcast with a bed, is it a bed sheet or a beach towel behind you?
I had to pee so bad, but I realized I couldn't leave until I mentioned Hal Morris to get this interview right back on track. And you're welcome, because we got Chris Sabo wearing goggles rushing into a shower.
It was great. You named Mark Portugal. I mean, that was the most exciting part of the interview.
Also, I misspoke and I called Mariano Duncan Mario Duncan, and I can't complete the lyrics of All the Small Things corrected me on that real quick.
Hold on. That's 90s baseball, dog. Come on.
And it's the biggest hit of 2001. Yeah. Relax.
Yeah, 2001. Yeah, 2 years too late.
Are we going to go to that innings fest or not? Are we going to go to the Arizona?
Transition.
Like, no, because these are our people. This is Paul O'Neill talking about John Jaha's, where we want to spend the rest of our lives.
Next spring, we got to get
Next
that
spring,
going.
yes.
Ask Hildy.
They're in season right now.